Well, hello everyone. I'm Marilyn Moore, and I'd like to welcome you all to another edition of Web Technology for Small Business Seminars. And we're very happy and excited to have David Harry here today as our guest to speak on and answer questions about what every small business needs to know about SEO. Before we get started, we'd like to give our first of all, a big thank you to the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. Some folks think of chambers of commerce as kind of a throwback to earlier days, but the Oceanside Chamber is a very forward-thinking, active chamber that does a great job of embracing all the latest in technology and in promoting its members. If you don't know Oceanside, it's in the northern part of San Diego County, and its northern neighbor is Camp Pendleton, the main Marine Corps training base on the Pacific Coast, and they have a strong relationship with Camp Pendleton and very supportive of our men and women in uniform. And they also have their, besides the Armed Forces Day, they have Harbor Days, which embraces the marina and our beach side attractions, and as well as several other events during the year. So it's a great chamber. And John Moore over here and myself are Right Start websites, as well as sonicwebtech.com. And one of the things that we specialize in is helping out businesses that get stuck, and if they're not on the right, haven't gotten a right start, we'll give them a fresh start. And our next sponsor is Create a Computer with Richard Pete Hanna, and he is also our production engineer for our Hangouts on Air broadcasts, and there he is. So thank you very much, Rich, and if you have any IT needs, he's your guy. So next I'm going to turn it over to John, who's going to be introducing our guest, David Harry, and take it away, John.
Okay, some time ago, but actually it was in June of this year, I ran up on a post. Show them the title of the post there. I ran into a post that I think was shared by Mark Trapagan, and I didn't know David at the time. And I read this post and I went, wow, this is somebody I should follow. It really impressed me because he was really talking about how all of this affects small business, how all of this relates to people and customers, and how much he wanted to work toward improving the industry. I'm going to read a little introduction to this post here because I think it captures a lot of what I think David's about. Here it is. I have long struggled with discussions with friends in the industry as well as Googlers on the approach. I had often been of the mind that business owners were the ones that often were hurt, not the SEOs that did the work, which indeed sucks. On the flip side, a lot of SEOs and website owners are either ignorant to the evolution and state of affairs or simply didn't care to change. Maybe Google does indeed need to make a big impact to see effect change. Hard to say. But beyond all that, the real issue that bothers me is that there are still a ton of service providers willingly engaging in tactics with client websites that is downright dangerous and certainly stupid. So I can't really affect change with Google, but I sure as hell can start to try and affect it in my industry. At the end of the day, I care about customers and the overall perception of the industry itself. It's time we try to clean it up some. So that really grabbed me. And so I started following David, and he's really active in terms of working with his industry. Here are a few things that he himself is doing. There is training dojo where he works with other SEO professionals and sharing, and then of course his regulator group, his pals, they go in and they kind of show you where all the crap is out there. It's quite a show. It lasts about sometimes 2 hours. And then there's Friday SEO chat. So if you've got 2 hours on a Friday and you want to hear all the things that are going on in SEO, that's another one to listen to. And then there's his private groups where he talks and works with all his fellow SEO people. So, David, I have kind of introduced you. Would you like to add to that with your own thoughts on?
I don't know. My humility's getting to me. I don't even know what to add to that, man. Again, yeah. Yeah, okay. At the end of the day, I specialize in what's known as forensic SEO, meaning I pick up the pieces when things go wrong. And what that means in my heart is that, you know, in a larger business sense, it's a CEO I'm dealing with, or a CTO, or somebody on the C-level, but somebody along the line is losing a job. If it's down at the warehouse level, wherever, somebody's losing a job because of action someone else has taken. And then the small SMB side of things, you know, I have emails from people saying, you know, we built this business 10 years ago and we might lose it, and so you become emotionally invested in it. And so, yeah, my reasoning behind that kind of speech or diatribe or whatever you want to call it, is that, yeah, I don't think that necessarily, I understand that Google is trying to crack down on businesses so that they might make better hiring practices, but it's a chicken and egg thing in the sense, and I'll make this as short as possible now, that if someone doesn't understand what SEO is, how are they supposed to know if they're hiring a good SEO provider? And that's the chicken and egg that's a problem in our industry. So, and as far as the rest of my introduction, yeah, I've been at this, I've been in marketing since I was 22. I'm 50, so I can't do math anymore. I'm too old. And the internet I started in 1998, was in web design, got into internet marketing around the year 2000, so I guess I'm about 14 years in. And there you go.
Great, great. Well, thanks a lot. I really, really appreciate you being here. So let's, is there any questions from here? Do you see any questions on the chat?
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead. We're good. Okay, we're going to keep an eye on the stream there, and put your hand up if you've got something. Let's start off with that first kind of topic area that we discussed, and that is SEO seems so technical, and it has nothing directly to do with business, or so it seems. Therefore, and you've already addressed this earlier in the green room about how small and micro businesses tend to shy away from SEO issues because they're lost, or they can actually get themselves into trouble. So what are some fundamental concepts about SEO that a small business must really understand?
First off, I'd just like to go back to your wife and tell her that the Chamber of Commerce is not a throwback. It's the original social networking. Anyways, and that's what we kind of talked about beforehand too. So never forget that.
Right.
You know, the fundamentals are simple. Again, it depends on your business plan. And if your business plan does include online elements, okay, that's step one. So you've got a website, you've got everything else. Now, does your online presence include Google is your next question. And if it does, then you have to start considering these kind of things. You have to start thinking about them. Now, if you're taking a pure social media approach, and in some industries that's going to work, some industries that's not, then that's fine too. But if you're going to get into this, again, we talked about this just before we started with the group there, that you know you're almost at as much of a disservice if you're in a better position if you know nothing about SEO, or that you're willing to be committed to learn enough of it to understand what role it plays in your marketing structure. Larger corporations we work with understand this. They have PR departments, social media departments, SEO departments. They have, you know, I mean, I've worked as a consultant with teams of 35 SEOs, literally sitting in a room. And I think that also speaks to the small business approach, that you don't want to think, you know, when we started in 1998, when the internet was young, and so many people that have gotten into the internet thing through infomercials or whatever thought that it was the great leveling field. Well, it used to be 10 years ago. You know, what happened was the corporations woke up and decided, hey, we're going to invest $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, you know, $100,000 a month into this, and so no longer can you compete. So you also can't think that you're going to go head on. You can't just come head on against the big boys in your space, which comes down to keywords and targeting and things of that nature that you know, I'm sure people are familiar with. But you need to think laterally and be honest with yourself. How much budget can I commit to this? And based upon that budget, how can I attack the problem marketing-wise? Because you got to divide it up. You got print ads, you got, you know, radio ads, you got all these different things you might be trying to do. So, you know, you need to be smart about it. You know, grabbing the five and dime. I've literally, had to help people that bought SEO services off of eBay. And I believe someone here mentioned eBay earlier. So, and well, when you get that kind of service, you get what you pay for it. And so there's a risk. There's an inherent risk in approaching this, because Google's memory is long, and once you get penalized, it can take you a while to get out of it.
Great. Very good. One of the things that, and you talk about being penalized and about doing the wrong things, and about people, some of the people that are SEO providers, and the things that they might be recommending or not recommending can get them into trouble. But let's look back, and people have heard the word Panda and Penguin a lot, and maybe you can kind of frame those two words with something that might be meaningful to the small business, in terms of how has that worked for them, in terms of kind of cleaning out the riffraff, and how can that be kind of dangerous if they're not careful.
Okay, so yeah, let's go with the clean out the riffraff to start with. Okay, so we had the aforementioned, being able to compete with the big boys, because nobody really considered the internet as viable in late 90s, early 2000s. And then once the larger corporations caught on to it, a lot of people in the SEO industry had to find ways again to be able to compete. And so how they would do that is essentially spamming people. And in terms of web spam, you guys may not understand it, but in terms of email spam, you probably do. People were selling lists, and you're getting all these cruddy emails, and you're like, oh my God, what is this? So SEOs and people in our industry were using Google's inefficiencies against them, loopholes, and how they were doing that was short-sighted and short-lived. But again, the SEO provider doesn't care about your business. They care about their business, because they're a small business person. So you hire them tomorrow, and you pay them for 6 months to rank you, and they do rank you. But when Google penalizes a domain name, which is your business, your entity, who are they penalizing? You or the SEO? Well, they're not penalizing the SEO, because he's off selling the next guy and making his money. So they're penalizing you. And this is where the cost of ignorance comes in. And is that you're the one who's going to get hurt if you don't understand that Google's evolving. So Google evolved and eventually started catching up to a lot of this stuff. Panda is sort of a on-site penalty for the most part that penalizes bad content practices. I'm sure a lot of us have seen over the years, Yahoo Answers dominated for a while. You could type something into Google, and it was like Yahoo Answers or eHow or this and that, because they were literally creating pages that answered the same question with different keywords over and over and over. And Google's technology at the time couldn't keep up with it. So that's sort of an on-site thing. The off-site thing, like Penguin, is a penalty that's got more to do with links. And I'm sure everyone here, including me, I kid you not, I have SEO domains like the SEO Training Dojo, Reliable SEO. I get emails of people trying to sell me links. It's like they don't care. They just buy a mailing list and they fire it off on a server. So again, people that bought into that, it was another short-lived, thing that made you money at the time, but it can harm you in the long term. So that's an off-site thing. Now, the big brothers of all these things are what they call manual penalties. Manual penalties can go across the gamut from a variety of different things. Oh, hi, Kristen. How are you? Wow, Kristen's interfering. I'll get to you in a second, honey. I love you. So now those Penguin and Panda aren't considered technically a penalty. They're dampeners. They're algorithms, and I know we had a computer science guy here in the room in the live section of the broadcast. And so they were algorithms that were built to dampen or boost various results. A penalty is a little bit different. And what's weird about the penalties is the penalties you can get out of pretty quickly, well, not quickly, but you can get in short order because you have a dialogue with Google. You can file what's called a reconsideration request and things of that nature. Algorithmic dampeners, such as Panda and Penguin, can hurt you. And, Penguin, for example, which is a link-based penalty or dampener, has not refreshed since last October, which means if you got penalized last October, you're still in the penalty box, to use our Canadian hockey terms. You're still in that penalty box waiting for it to refresh again. So there can be long and lasting effects to making bad choices in your provider, which, again, goes back to that concept you're almost better off knowing a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous. You're better off knowing nothing about SEO than to be half-assed about it or choose the wrong provider. Did I get it, John? I think that was pretty much it. Oh, well, no, what was Kristen up to? Wow, we're
No, we got a good question here from George. Did I say that right? I think it's up on the screen there for you to see. Google Penguin is going towards semantic search. Panda is something quite different. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, now when we talk about semantics, and since this is small business SEO as opposed to the Geeks Hour, semantics is about understanding words, relationships, contents, and entities. Entities are people, places, and things, pretty much nouns, and how they relate to each other. Semantic search doesn't really lend itself to a large degree towards any kind of dampening or penalization. That's not really an issue on that level. What our friend here might be confusing is that something like Penguin will look at anchor text and things of that nature. So for the folks watching and listening or sitting there, how that would work is that a normal website, if you look at the anchor text, someone links to it, it's going to be the brand name most of the time. If you've got links to, buy Viagra and this and that, those are what's called a commercial anchor text. So, obviously it doesn't look natural to Google, so, they can figure that out algorithmically fairly easily. Penguin is certainly not moving towards semantic search. Semantic search is somewhat separate. They can use it for spam detection and things of that nature, but it's not something. No, Penguin is still more about location. I remember. Glad we had the pre-show because we have our real estate friend here. It is so much about location. A link from a trusted site like the Wall Street Journal or somewhere like that, you know what I mean, is a trusted location. Now, that same link coming from some mommy blog that writes about duct tape in one blog post and then, earrings in the next one and brownie, Google's not as likely to trust that site. And so location of those incoming links from something like Penguin are very important. And that's far more on the trust scale, the authority scale of what Google would care about with that. And even Panda to a large degree is about usability. Now, that could be your what they would call main content, which is what the page is about, secondary supplemental content, which is your navigation and things, and then the advertisements on a page if you have a page with advertisements. So again, it's about usability. It doesn't really, neither of those algorithms are really playing into any kind of semantic elements. So.
Great. Okay, we have another question from Kristen. Click it up there.
Yeah. Yes. Stop stalking, Kristen. Okay.
Right. Here's Kristen.
Now since we're talking semantics, let's pull apart the question semantically. The number one thing is the first problem because there aren't number one things. In every situation, you're going to have different elements you need to consider, and this is the other problem with SEO providers is they approach it with a cookie cutter kind of mentality, and you can't. Because every industry, from the law to the insurance to the web design guy, we all are approaching different keywords and different categorizations in different industries. And so how that's going to play out to Google is going to be different. As far as number one goes, it all depends on the situation. If you've got a bunch of links and that's not your weakness, then maybe your on-site architecture is a problem. Maybe this and that. And so when we do an audit process, we're looking for weak spots, just like you would in any business consulting situation. So there's never a number one thing. Now, on to the next piece of semantic silliness is grow. You're not growing your SEO, folks. You're trying to grow your revenues. You're trying to increase your business's authority. And they have what's called in marketing brand lift. And what brand lift is it means when someone thinks about a topic, do they think about your name? When you think I'd like some pop, do you think Coca-Cola, Pepsi? So when you're showing up in the paid advertisements, you're showing up in the organic search, you're showing up in people's social streams, when you're on the TV and the radio and everywhere else, that's what's called brand lift. So that's what you're growing. You're growing your business and you're growing your revenue streams. How you're doing that and how you're allocating revenues from your budget to do so is based upon where your weaknesses, strengths are, and where you think your consumers are. So you're not trying to grow SEO. You need to, I think, John, you and I talked about this in our pre-show stuff of a month ago, that you actually literally want to, even when you're doing keyword research and things like that, you want to think, what's your most profitable products? You know what I mean? Or services or whatever. What is my markup on this? Where do I make my money? Where is my money? And these are the ways I want to go about, applying SEO. You don't want to just go, oh, I typed into this keyword tool, give me these words back, so I'm going to go focus on them. Well, that makes no sense if you're making a 5% margin on that product. Let's pretend we're the Dragon's Den, or sorry, the Shark Tank here for a bit. And what do those guys love to do is they hammer people about margins. So where are your margins, and where do you make your money? And SEO has to, just like any marketing, has to begin before you even approach the concept. Where do I make my money? What are my goals? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And then approach the marketing process.
Great. Stan here in the audience has a question. Go ahead.
First one is, how long of a commitment is this? 3 months, 6 months, a year, forever?
Okay, Stan was asking how much of a commitment is SEO. I know the answer to this, but go ahead, Eric.
Just for you, John, it depends. He's been quoting that phrase back to me a while lately. So yes, it does. Again, are you a new buyer? Have you just launched a website, or do you have some sort of presence first? These are the things that become considerations in it. Time and commitment is always dependent to a degree on, and again, don't ever think in keywords, because keywords is a very limited, singular, dimensional thing. Keywords have dimensions to them. You don't just say, what was our legal person? What was your specialty? Sorry, what was the specialty of the legal person?
Identity theft protection.
Okay, right. So, that's a very, core term. But, how to find services or identity theft services, or how do I protect my identity, or keywords all of a sudden become multidimensional and they broaden out. And so in a situation like that, that may be your core service, but you have to look at your budget. What am I allocating towards search marketing this year? Okay, and if it's, let's say $10,000. Can we afford to go head-to-head with the big boys who might be investing $50, $100, $200,000? Probably not. So we start to build those keywords out and turn them into phrases and start to attack them on the peripheral. I call it the art of war SEO style, Sun Tzu. That when the army is larger than you, you must find ways on the lateral sides to attack them. And so you would go and start building your authority and attacking keywords that are longer tail, as we'd call them, meaning longer phrases, but they cost less to get there. If there's a cost, cost per acquisition, we all know as business people, right? What is my cost per new customer? So if we think of SEO in those terms, that there's a cost per acquisition of rankings for a keyword, then we diversify the attack. We diversify the strategy based upon the budget we have at hand. None of us have infinite resources to attack on every keyword against every major player. So you have to come in strategically. So to answer the question, I guess, in the shortest term, it depends on the way you approach it. It depends on the strategy you're taking. It depends on the keywords you're choosing and on the budget you have allocated towards that marketing endeavor, right? Some terms, like, I've literally worked for major car players, the kind of ones you'd all know. And they came to me one day and said, we'd like to, and this is what we call a vanity term, meaning it came from the C-level. The CEO and the CTO and the CMO, they all sat down one day and decided, we're going to go after the word SUV. And they came to me as a consultant with this, and I went, are you kidding me? Are you nuts? Because a term like that is what we call a generalized query. It doesn't even have, where can I buy an SUV? It doesn't say buy SUV. It's literally a 3-letter query term called SUV. They could be looking for information on one. They could be looking for reviews. They could be looking for so many things. And so Google will put in that top 10 results a myriad of things that are informational, transactional, and so on and so on. And since you're competing against such big players, and these guys had the money, they were spending $20,000, $40,000, $100,000 a month on this, but because you're attacking that space, the people that even click through to your site, you don't even know if they're qualified buyers, because you pick such an ambiguous query term to go after. So again, how long it's going to take is dependent on terms you take, which is dependent on the strategy you're taking, which is dependent on the budget you're putting into it.
Great. Okay. You got a second question, right?
Yes. Any suggestions for a business without a storefront but has a service area?
Any suggestions for a business with no storefront but has a service area?
Okay, Okay, can you give me some example? Okay, so that's coming from the web designer or the programming guy, right?
No, this is coming from Stan.
Oh, no.
Rapid
Wow.
Recharge. He does recharge.
So you're a home-based business, right?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Or a plumber, for example, too.
Okay, so service provider. Okay, yeah, I get that. For sure. Again, I'm sure in legal terms, as far as the IRS is concerned and everybody else, you're already declaring your home as a business. So extending that to Google, or in our terms as far as SEO is concerned, you are still that. You know what I mean? Because you don't have a storefront doesn't mean you're not a location-based business. Your business does have a location, so you can still go into Google Places and Google Business and all that kind of stuff. You could still do all that. Now, obviously, again, as I just spoke about, you're going to be up against the wall with those providers of yours that have these locations and everything else. So, investigating what they're doing online, how they're marketing online, is going to give you hints to what they're doing and where they're weak and where they're strong, and ways that you can attack them strategically with your online marketing. Don't think for a minute you're limited. Again, like reviews and stuff like that is huge. Like, you know what I mean? I know we're on Google here, and I don't want to get anyone mad at me, but offer your clients a discount on something if they go online and leave you a review. And for your own business purposes, never ask them to leave a positive review. Literally, even if they leave a negative one, that's going to help you grow your business because you're going to learn about it. Oh, I screwed this up, so let's grow and change. But no, there isn't a limitation in that situation as far as the online world's concerned, because Google doesn't see you as a brick and mortar per se. Because you live in a home, you have a physical address, and that's where your business is, and you could still market just like that. If anything, that's one of your legs up. That you're the kind of guy that should use some. Well, look at me. I'm in my house right now. This is where I do business. I have had no problems growing a business without a storefront as someone who's a service provider.
Great. Now we have a question on the comment tracker. Click it up there, Rich.
Oh, he's got it up there.
Okay. I can never pronounce her name right. Farzan?
Faranaz Parse.
Parse. Okay.
Faranaz Parse. I'm going with that.
Are there some essential criteria for choosing providers?
Yes. Do your best to talk to other business owners you know. Unfortunately, in my world, sadly enough, you really can't trust the representations of those out there if you're just... Funny enough that we're talking about SEO, and I don't advise searching Google for an SEO provider. Sad but true, folks. It's reality that is Google. Yeah, unfortunately, it's again. We were talking this, I think, before the show, so I'll reprise it. But it's a chicken and egg thing that without some understanding of SEO, we and believe us, Fairness, we have this argument in our industry literally almost weekly, that it is so difficult to hire someone without knowing anything about it. It's tough. There are no, this isn't like a contractor where there's, building codes and there are, governing bodies and regulation in place. Which is unfortunate because a bad SEO provider can literally, if you depend on Google for a large amount of your business, they can destroy you. They can wipe out your life savings. It's a sad thing, but so yeah, there is no easy answer. So my best answer is to, keep going to hangouts like this. You're obviously asking that question because you're here today, so I think you're on the right track. You're on the right path. You're taking an interest in the concept and you're learning about it. But yeah, I really don't think there's an easy answer. Again, I've seen people get hurt by buying SEO services off of eBay. I've seen people doing horribly, horribly dodgy things that had at the bottom of their page, Panda and Penguin proof, because the average consumer of ours all they know is those are catchwords, and our industry does suffer to a degree from the infomercial end, and I hate to say this, unfortunately, but price is going to play into things too. Anybody that's good at what they do in our industry tends to make a half decent buck. Now we do have local guys that do $500,000 a month contracts, and they're really good guys and they do great work. They just need 10 or 20 clients, so you're not going to have their undivided attention. But whenever I've had someone come to me, and this is not just an SEO thing, but whenever I had someone come to me and I say, well, what's your budget monthly? And they say $200, I don't laugh to their face, but I laugh to my friends and go, are you kidding me? Because even in offline marketing, if you're only spending a couple $100 on flyers and print ads and other things we used to do offline back in the day, I don't think you're going to get a lot of results from that. The beauty of the online marketing is that we have analytics. We have ways to track stuff. When I used to, I've had balloons and airplanes with banners and print ads and late night TV ads, and I've done lots of things for clients before I got on the internet. But we could never measure that's where the sales came from. The internet is kind of neat that way. That through analytics we can track what worked and what didn't. I think the internet marketing was an eye opener for me, and as a numbers kind of guy, I love it because we can actually track what works and what doesn't. So I don't think there's any easy way to qualify a provider, sadly, or I wouldn't sit around picking up the pieces for people as I do every day of the week. So.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we have a question from Gwen Evans, right? And she was asking about what about people that promise you page one? What's wrong with that concept of I can get you on page one?
Okay.
On Google.
Now, if you've got a couple $1 million, I can promise you an ad during the Super Bowl, okay? And you will see that ad during the Super Bowl. Now, that's marketing. If I tell you I can put an ad in the local newspaper, if I can tell you put in People magazine, I can do all this. This is Google. It's a black box. They don't, and for those, the reason it's a black box is because if Google gave us exactly how they did things, lots of people would manipulate it for nasty stuff. Google likes to give the concept of your money or your life, what they call YL pages. And these are like medical pages, and to our friend in the legal industry here, pages in the legal industry, pages in the medical industry, pages that want your money or can affect your life. These are actually treated in Google differently than just like some blog post or some random thing about Robin Williams dying, They are actually treated differently in Google, which brought us back to something we talked about before the show, that categorizations matter. Now, there's no way around that. You know what I mean? That you can't mess with, and we just, you know what I mean?
So you would consider somebody who promised that to be suspicious?
I think, if I asked the same person who asked that, if someone gave them a promise that they could cure their cancer, would they be skeptical?
Yeah.
Would they? Of course they would. Again, none of us has the black box of Google, so promises or guarantees are always your first sign to run screaming. Because I literally have clauses in my contracts that say, essentially, that Google is Google. I have no control over how they do things. If they turn around and screw something up tomorrow, not screw something up. If they, in their wisdom, decide to change an algorithm that affects the rankings of your site, I cannot be legally held liable. So I am literally, my contracts are the opposite of that, meaning I don't guarantee a damn thing. I can guarantee that I have 15 years of experience. I read search patents. I'm a very knowledgeable guy with lots of experience. But I'm the opposite. I cannot guarantee you anything because all of the best laid plans of mice and men can be changed tomorrow by Google changing their mind and releasing a new algorithm. Google is not a government service. Google is an entity unto itself and has the right to change at any time.
Right. Okay. George has a question. Oh yes, the audience can't see it. Let me put it up here. What importance do you give to nowadays on link building? Oh boy, this is a favorite topic.
Oh, good God! We just did this this morning, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We talked about that this morning.
All right, so let's go back to our semantically weird concepts that folks like me don't call it link building. We call it attracting links. The whole concept of building, once you have that locked in your mind, you are already on the wrong side of Google going forward. They started cracking down this stuff around 2011, 2012, and it's not going away anytime soon. You have penguins, you have manual penalties, you have all kinds of things that can get you in trouble. All right, so now we understand that. We'll get past link building, because anytime someone wants to build you a link, you are taking an inherent risk. Now, as far as the ethics of SEO are concerned, hey, my job is to advise a client. If I say, listen, you shouldn't do that, and they say, well, I understand the risks, Dave, but I still want to, I will pass them to someone who can do that for them, because I don't do that stuff. So let's think in semantics now, and let's get past building, and let's get into attracting. The average small business like you guys might need 2,000 or 3,000 links from the right places. Again, we go back to location, location, location. And I have clients, even not huge businesses, 4 or 5 employees, that have 1.5 million links. Never built a damn one in their life. Not a one. They actually provided a good service. They gave the market what it wanted, and people were attracted to that, and they linked to that. That should be your goal. I learned that early on. I was a writer, and I got to where I was to a large degree because I wrote. And all of a sudden, after a couple of years, I had 200,000-300,000 links to my blog. Now, did I go out and build them? Was I going to directories? Was I going to social media sites? Was I doing all these funky, crappy things? No. I was giving information that people wanted. So in your business, I'll go back to our friend, our legal friend here, or even the yoga. Let's go to the yoga person since we haven't gone there yet. Okay, so in your world, you might think that, hey, if I did a video about these exercises, and if I did an article that went on that video about how to do it right and how to do it wrong and how you should be feeling if you did it right and so on and so on, if I did that whole thing and put it on my blog or as an article, which is called evergreen content, 2 different areas, but if I did that, a lot of business people think, well, I'm giving something away, something I charge for. But no, don't worry about that. This is the internet. You're in California, man. The whole world could use that information. Doesn't mean you're going to literally lose business because you did that. What actually happens is people respect you. People are like, wow, that's really cool. Thank you for that. And they will link to that all across the world because you gave that information of your expertise out of your heart. You know what I mean? And anybody sitting there with you today, John, has a talent, has knowledge, has something they could share with the world that other people could use. Now, you've got the whole tree falls in the forest thing, but that's about networking, like we talked about before the show, and that's about, social media and other things. But yeah, you have to attract links. Any shyster, any snake oil salesman starts coming along about building links, you're in the wrong place. Because guess what? When they build those links, they put them on directories. They put them on crappy blogs. They put them on all these places that, again, tree falls in the forest. Nobody is ever going to read them. So why were you doing it? Were you doing it to build authority, to build trust in your business, to build authority as you as the provider, that people are like, this guy knows his stuff? How did I end up here, John? Was I giving it away by writing on my blog when you noticed me? No.
Yep.
Same thing applies. Same thing applies. Some guy out of California says, hey, Dave, let's talk. Same thing applies. So don't be afraid of that. Take the knowledge within your business. We call them resources, meaning the minds and the people on your team, and use that. Give that knowledge away because that's what will build links. I don't know. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're running over. Who cares?
Yeah, we're good.
Who cares? Who cares? We're going.
We have a question from the yoga person.
So let me give this to everyone sitting there. You have 2 magical things, all of you, that you don't understand as far as content and building authority, which in itself creates links. You have a sales team that deals every day with the objections to a sale, meaning why someone didn't want to buy your product. And you have a customer service team that every day deals with what people have problems with your business. All of these things are content. You can do videos. You can do whatever you want to, however you want to, articles, blog posts, doesn't matter. You can take this information and put it out there for the world beyond your reach as a small business. And that will attract links. That will attract authority. That will attract trust. And what it'll also do, which is really cool, is save you money. Because if you had to hire an extra staff person on sales because, oh, wow, we're not getting to the sale fast enough, we're dealing too many objectives. If you had to hire an extra person on your customer service team because, oh, we got too many calls coming in, if you can direct them to your website and those answers are there already, or on your YouTube channel or wherever, that's making or saving you money. And both of those are good things.
Great. We have our yoga person. What's your name?
Angel.
Angel has a question.
Can you just qualify what you mean by link? I mean, do you mean visitors that come to the website?
Yeah, qualify the word link. What is meant by link?
Links, how do they
Okay, so one of the major ranking factors with Google is a link. Now, what that is let's put it in Facebook terms. I guess it's probably easy. Well, no, we're not the young crowd here. I forgot. But anytime you see a link that you click on, that's that blue thing with the underline on it, that is a link. Denoted in the code terms by an ahref. So that makes it a link. Now, that is what PageRank is based off, which is a major Google algorithm ranking factor. So essentially what the concept is that if somebody links to you, they must trust you or enjoy the content you're producing.
Well, I know that, but how do you link to that? How does it help? You just they're clicking on your link.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically,
So the more you have, the more you get.
yeah. Basically, it has to do with.
Okay, I got this. Okay, so let's say we got site A and site B. All right. Now, site A has 5 links from other websites coming into it, right? Site B has 3 links from other websites coming into it. Now this is one of many algorithms, but it's an important one. Based upon that, site A is going to be more important than site B because more people are talking about it through an actual link to it. So, think about it in your Facebook stream if you want. 5 people shared this article, 2 people shared this article. Which one is more important to an algorithm? Now, that's how PageRank works on a very, 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 very simplistic basis. Because now, beyond that, let's say let's go back to the original 5 sites that were linking into your web page. Let's say 100 sites link to this one, 200 sites link to this one, and so on and so on. That same equity passes through that one link to your website down into your website. Okay, and that's how the scoring and the mathematics are working to say that this is a better site than that. Now, again, there are so many other signals these days. That was, the old kind of thing 10 years ago. But that's the concept of how links affect the authority or the value of a website to Google. Did that help any? Or?
Do you mean clicks that they visited your website, they linked to you, or do you mean that I've published their link on my page? What do you mean by linked to?
I think they published a link to your site.
They put
yes.
something out.
I think what you're after is they're actually putting a link on their page, their blog, to you. Okay.
So they're sharing your website.
Yeah, they're saying, I really liked this person. Here is a link to them.
Well, you're sharing it. You're essentially sharing that website.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Do we have a question?
Well, we just have a nice
This is just a comment of George.
Oh, here's a comment from George.
Might be else.
Okay, I liked your wording, link attraction, and I agree with you on this issue, especially nobody should buy links.
No, George. No, George. No. Now, buying links is something that Google frowns upon. Now, this all depends on, and I don't want to go beyond our heads here, but there's an attribute to these links that's called a no-follow. And what that essentially tells Google is that it's transparency. Okay, I paid for this link, and so don't let it count towards that link graph that we just talked about. Now, George, I will say to you, sir, that I would rather have a paid advertisement with a link to my website that doesn't pass PageRank, meaning Google's choose, not to be, but back in the day before Google used to give everyone hell about their links, You know, that's what we did as marketers. You know, I want an ad on the Wall Street Journal. I want an ad on New York Times. Hello. You know, if you're buying links for PageRank, if you're buying links to manipulate Google, not a good idea. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't still consider the concept when you're doing marketing and advertising. So, just to clarify George's comment. So yeah, natural links, the ones that you want to affect your rankings in the organic search, you definitely don't want those paid for. You want those to be attracted and to be natural. But there's nothing inherently wrong with a paid link as long as it's displayed properly and Google understands the transparency that it's, you know, a paid link.
So, you know, a link that you might pay for on a reputable site would bring traffic to you, but you don't want to make Google think that it's because they voted for you.
Right, which is a great little forensic lesson for everyone watching, listening, that if you're buying advertising that in the form of a text link somewhere, make sure it's no followed within the Google guidelines.
Okay, that no follow is really a critical thing. Make sure that if you're buying a link because of traffic, that it's a no follow link, so that you don't get in trouble, because it's not really voting for you and voting that you are somebody they are recommending personally because they value you or value your content.
Well, transparency at the end of the day with Google. You know, we've all seen blog posts and articles with those links in them, and you wonder sometimes, is someone paying this guy to say this, or is he really recommending this of his own accord? Mm-hmm. And that's how Google's made these differentiations of this kind of stuff. Right.
Big difference, yeah. Any other questions out here right now? Okay, now we've talked about the things that had to do with, you know, the red flags if we're talking to somebody about SEO, and we talked about how it's important to build a relationship with somebody if you're going to have them help you with your SEO, and understand really what they're about. You know, just go out there and just buy it off of eBay or something. But what about the situation where you want to kind of do some things yourself? Okay, what kind of do-it-yourself things would you consider reasonable for a small business to do without getting into trouble? Do you have kind of some suggestions there, so that these people can go and say, okay, I think I can do these things and not get myself into trouble? You know.
Yeah, there you know, a myriad of things you can accomplish on a site to satisfy Google. It can go from how the URLs in your site are constructed, what they call, in most, if you guys are using WordPress, and our WordPress guy, you know, search engine friendly URLs. These can be important, and that's something very simple that's not going to get you in trouble, but they help enable the signals of Google. The titles of your page, you know, how do you name a page? How do you create the title element on a page? And most of your CMSs will ask for a title. You know, how well thought out did you think about that? You know, what is that title of that page and how important it is? The words on the page, you know, and I think the easiest advice has always been the same over the years. Read your page back to yourself. Does it sound like you're just sticking words in there because you think Google will like it? Or does it sound like something your consumer would like? You know, because end of the day, folks, you know, your lawyers and WordPress guys and yoga people and everything else, you know, you do what you do, and if you don't like the words on your page, if you're trying to satisfy Google instead of your consumer, potential consumer, you're obviously missing the boat. Your meta descriptions, those aren't actually even a ranking factor, but they are what displays in the search results to pull someone in. I mean, it's your call to action. It's how you get someone in. You know, we see all the time people that rank #2 for this term, but they get less traffic than the guy below them. Well, why is that? Because they weren't compelling. You know, the words on that search result didn't bring the person in. Site architecture. Again, we talked about how that 5 links pass into this page, which is your home page. From there, your home page now passes equity out amongst the pages in the site. So how is that site built? Is that information and equity passing down the site? You know, everything along the way. There's even stuff in the Google Rater Guide that talks about fonts on a web page. Is the page easy to read or is it difficult to read? Do ads get in the way? You know, there's a ton of things that can keep you out of trouble that are just enabling Google to understand your page or your website better. I think there's tons of stuff you can do along that line.
Great, great. We have a question over here.
I have two questions.
Two questions. Mike.
I don't know which one is harder to answer. I'll just tell them.
Right.
The first one is how is keyword research still important?
Okay, is keyword research still important?
And then I'll ask the second one so you can.
Okay.
Second one is it true that Google ranks pages, not websites?
He said, is it true that Google ranks?
Yeah, I got them both. I got them both. All right, so number one. So, oh, Bill, brother, I do this every day, man. Okay, so, all right, so question number one. I said earlier that again, I don't like keywords as a concept because they're very singularly dimensional as opposed to multidimensional. So what that means is what we call modifiers, meaning words. If you ever look in your Google Analytics, you'll see very few, you know, sure, you get a bunch of traffic for these 2- and 3-word keywords, but so many of them are like people just typing questions in. So again, that goes back to our concept of customer service and salespeople and answering questions with the website that a human being might actually put into a search engine. So keywords themselves become an issue. So you want to think in phrases and in concepts, okay? So secondary to that is why I've stopped even calling it keyword research, and I literally, my friend, about 2 weeks ago, because I realized even the term I was using with my clients wasn't really capturing the concept. So we've talked about the multidimensionality of words. We've talked about the concept of being competitive in a space against your competitors. So if we're thinking in terms of just a keyword, you're going to these silly tools and they're spitting back numbers at you and you're like, oh, this is the one we have to go after. Call the SEO guy. Tell him we want this keyword. No. Because now you have to actually go and look at that query space. And what that means is type it into Google, see who's coming up for the results, and who they are. Are these the big players in your niche that have more money to spend on this than you do? Then that's probably not the query space, meaning the keyword, that you want to attack first. You know, once you build up through the long tail, which is, you know, fighting from the outside, once you build up enough revenues to keep rolling over into SEO and making profit from, then let's go head to head on these terms. So yeah, it is important, but I just don't think enough people approach it properly. How's that? You know what I mean? I don't think there's enough strategy involved in how people are attacking keywords because they see them as singular dimensions. Mm-hmm. And what was the second one? Damn it, I had it.
Is it true that Google ranks pages, not websites?
Pages versus website ranking.
Yes, on both. Okay, so yeah, this brings us back to the keyword concept that short tail stuff, meaning 2-3 word queries, keywords, by and large tend to be the site. And if it's not the site, it'll be a hub page, meaning, you know, Walmart.com/gardening. You know what I mean? It's a hub page section of that site that has a lot of equity that's usually passed from the home page. So we go back to our concept of the links. By and large, 80 to 90% of the links to a website is going to be to that home page. So that home page becomes paramount in the sense of the targeting. But that equity does pass down through the links in the page. So if you've got a navigation that's got 40, you know, the web designer guy will know this one. You know, if you hover over that menu and it drops down and it takes up the whole freaking page of all these links to different parts of the website, you're literally passing that equity through all of those pages as opposed to targeting, which is going to make it harder to rank for those subsections of the website. So, yeah. But now, if we're talking a blog, and let's say you've got an e-commerce or a service site and you're selling services and this and that, but you have a content program that is based upon the stuff I talked earlier, which is answering questions for people, that becomes informational searches. It's what's called query classification, meaning is it a transactional search, meaning they're looking to buy something, download something, do something actionable, or is this a search that they're looking for information? Now, if you're looking for information, eHow and Yahoo Answers and people like that have made a fortune off of these longer tail individual pages that rank for a term, right? So to your question, both is yes. Some terms you're going to want it to be the home page or the site itself. Some other terms, it's going to be the page itself that's answering something that you hope they learn something and say, well, who is this guy? And they click through to your homepage and they learn more about your services. So, again, it depends. It's our favorite phrase, but it's the truth. Again, everyone wants to boil this down into black and white, into cookie cutter, and it doesn't work that way. This is a search engine. I always make the joke that this isn't rocket science, it's computer science, and they're looking semantically at these concepts. So yeah, in some cases, yes, some terms you're going to focus as the website as something you want it to be known for. And in some instances, you're going to be ranking an individual page to answer a given question with the hopes that it builds authority and drives them back to that homepage to purchase your product or service.
Right, right. Very good. Okay, we're down to the last 5 minutes, and let's see if we have any other little tidbits here that anybody wants to cover before we jump off the cliff to the end here. Oh, you got one more little quickie? Okay.
Somebody else has one. I got
Okay, okay.
So I've heard that you should use your long tail keywords to point to landing pages, which then point to your website. Is that a good concept?
Long tail keywords pointing to a landing page.
Is that the web design guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a WordPress guy, right? Yeah, it had to be, man. Dude, I love you, man. And like I said, you feel free to get in touch with me afterwards. That's a bit of overthinking. That's the kind of stuff that I was talking about earlier, that a little knowledge is dangerous. That's what they called back in the day called doorway pages. And, you know, Google's kind of all over that stuff. Again, with your customers, man, think about what makes sense for them. You know, the worst thing that any web designer or SEO that I've ever met does is they go into the site and into the client meeting for the intake and everything else, and you'll understand this when I say it, and they say, wow, show me some sites you like, this and that. The first question you want to ask is, how do you make money? You know, first question I ask my clients is, what's the business model? How do you make money? How can I best make you money? And all of that stuff will reveal itself, and you won't need to worry about that sort of overthinking it, that need to, well, this and that. Guys who write about that kind of garbage are just busy writing. They don't understand how the search engine works. They don't understand that. It will drive itself. You know what I mean? Focus on the content to a degree that, you know, we want to be semantically relevant for injury law and things of that nature. And so, you know, that's going to encompass a bunch of stuff. Think in entity levels, you know what I mean? As weird as it may seem, the person with that law office, if they write about a blog post about the fact that, oh, I had a great time at the Starbucks across the road, it may seem like it doesn't make sense to you. But on an entity semantic level, you're giving Google other signals of other entities that are related to yours, meaning I'm in this location, and around my location, these other entities exist. You know what I mean? What if someone was such a bloody addict and they didn't care about the law office? They were more worried about their coffee. They typed into Google, law office near a Starbucks. You're there. You know, so it happens, believe me. We see all kinds of weird stuff typed into Google.
Office near Starbucks.
But that's Google relating entities and semantic concepts. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you know, I wouldn't go there because that kind of stuff is playing around the fringes of things that guys thought of, you know, years ago. These are guys from MIT. These are guys from Stanford. These are guys that have studied this problem inside and out. And anything you and me as an SEO or a web designer could think of, oh, they're miles ahead of it, man. You know, so that's short-sighted thinking and stuff I see written about that I'm like, wow. You know, that the people that, and sadly enough, folks, the people that write a lot in my industry is because they don't, you know, what's the old saying? Those who can't do, teach. You know, it's because they don't have work. You know, I haven't written a blog post in about 4 or 5 months because I'm busy working, you know. So you got to be very careful what you read out there and take it all with a grain of salt. And again, I think it goes just to loop around because I'm good at these kind of things, John, is right off the top we said, someone asked, how do you hire a good SEO provider? My first advice is talk to people you know and look for some, you know, and back to our lawyer friend, you know, would you advise, I know you're about to advertise on Google, but I'm sure, you know, you would advise someone talking to their friends and finding, you know, word of mouth is everything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, those are doorway pages, and they can be problematic if you try to organize things that way.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're basically out of time, but I want to give you a chance to kind of wrap up your thoughts on this small business and how they're going to get the most out of their any SEO efforts they are. So why don't you say a few words on that, and then we'll close up shop, and I'll encourage everybody to get on the event and ask more questions. Harry is offered, David's
Yeah, I'll be sticking around. No worries.
Yeah, he'll be sticking around. He'll
Yep.
answer those questions. So dash on home, put some questions on the event stream, and he can continue.
Is he on Google Plus?
Yeah, he's on Google Plus. Yeah, go to the
Oh, I'm
event.
everywhere. Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, so I will close in saying why I'm here. I've written a lot in my industry. I've been interviewed on Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and had all kinds of accolades that make you pat yourself on the back. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of snake oil salesmen, and there's still a lot of people getting hurt in my industry because of people in my industry. And so, I got involved in this because I decided that I had to stop preaching to the choir, that I needed to get out of my industry and start talking to business owners more and start talking to real, people that are being affected, to try and head it off at the pass, so to speak. So I guess, at the end of the day, guys, girls, everyone, it's no different than hiring a mechanic or hiring a lawyer or hiring an accountant or anybody else that's important to your business. If your business in any way, shape, or forms, growth, performance, or anything in between depends on Google, this is not an afterthought. Hiring someone or seeking out services or even bringing someone in-house to do it is not an afterthought. Be careful, please. Because, again, I literally do forensic SEO for a living, which what that means is I have to deal with people once things go wrong. They come to me, and I'm like a cop or a lawyer in that I never meet people under the best circumstances. They're always losing their home or losing their business or someone's getting fired down the line. It's very painful and emotionally taxing for me, and that's why I'm here, is that, I'll go back to that theme of a little knowledge is dangerous. Either commit yourself to knowing enough to be able to hire someone or ask friends, or just ignore it and go out and be a good marketer and be a good service provider and do your job. And people will eventually talk about you, but don't ever go in the middle because it can literally destroy you. Especially because what happens is if you're in the e-commerce, you start bringing in more products and you start filling up warehouses based upon that traffic from Google. And when it goes south, you're done. If your business, in the service providers we have here today, if you start hiring on staff and this and that based upon the leads you were getting from Google, and it all goes south, you got to lay them off, and that's never fun. I've had to do it. I had to lay off my own employee a while back, one of my staff, and it's never a good feeling. So, not taking it seriously can be a very painful or debilitating experience, and so that's why I'm here, and I just want to make sure everyone understands. Don't take it lightly.
Right. I really thank you for coming, and I'm sure everybody here thinks it was great and learned a lot of great stuff, and so, really good. Really good. Okay, Marilyn, why don't you wrap us up here and
This was just an awesome conversation and just an incredible opportunity. We cannot thank David Harry enough. It was just a very special hour. And we have another special hour coming up next month. As you know, I hope you know, our web technology for small business seminars are held monthly, the second Tuesday of every month. And next month we have the one and only Ronnie Benser, who is known as the Hangout Helper and founder of the Hangout Mastery Group. And he is going to be talking with us how small businesses can get on board using Hangouts and how that can help you grow your business. But once again, thank you so much, David. It's just been an honor. Thank you.
we'll see you. Bye-bye. Okay. See you later.